Spaceballs, the movie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, the Next Doctor, and we are bringing you Spaceballs, one of my all-time favorite comedy movies. This is definitely something from my childhood, 1987, and I grew up on this kind of humor. This is what molded me. But we'll get into that. Let's start the show. Welcome. Now, I could do a half hour talking about this movie all by myself, and I'm sure you would love that. I mean, look at these locks. But my contract says that I got to do this with some other people. So let's bring them in. Joining me tonight, we've got the executive consultant and the man, Mike Knox. We're going to get into this movie, talking about why this is, probably one of the all-time greatest comedies out there. I think it has everything in there. But I think
I'm reviewing your contract now. I don't recall where you spoil what your rating is going to be before we even start.
Listen, when you have something this great, you can't just, contain that. Anyone watching this already knows that this is fantastic. And if they don't, by the end of this show, they're going to watch it. And I'm going to tell you why. But
I just think it's funny though. Like, look at the why is Solo in there? Why do I see John Boyega? Why do I see Calrissian in the picture?
You know what's funny? I never noticed that before. The entire time we've had this daggone graphic, I've never noticed that before. I need to talk to our art department.
I've noticed it, and I think it fits the theme for this movie.
It does, though.
But
it makes absolutely no sense.
It makes no sense.
Because
Solo's
not in the movie. The black chick's not in the movie. Right?
If they did a remake today, they could put that in there, do the same script, and it would still work.
You can put John Boyega in anything, and I'm here to give him my money, so it's okay.
There you go. So let's get into it. Executive consultant Mike Knox, what do you got to say? What are your thoughts on Spaceballs, the movie?
Well, first of all, my Schwartz is bigger than yours. So when you say one of your all-time favorite comedies of all time, I think about the director, Mel Brooks. All right. For those who don't know, if you're not familiar with Spaceballs, I know you. If you don't know, you better know Men in Tights, Robin Hood Men in Tights. Okay. There would be no Robin Hood Men in Tights if there was no Spaceballs. There'd be no, Princess Bride, okay, without Spaceballs. Mel Brooks, before it became a cultural phenomenon to be a parody, he was parodying movies, okay, at a very early age in Hollywood and in the comedic world. And when I first saw this movie as a kid, I'm thinking, I don't think we paid for cable, but I always had cable, if that makes any sense. Like, I constantly always had cable, but I know my mom didn't pay for that shit, right? So I'm sitting here, and it just came on all the time, right? You watched it, and you're like, oh, what's it like One Crazy Summer, and all these movies that came on in the 80s, this was one of those movies for me. Mm-hmm. And you would watch it, and if you're a Star Wars fan or a Star Trek fan, you look at this movie like, oh, he's making fun of them. I couldn't equate the two together, right? Before Weird Al Yankovic, there was Mel Brooks, right? Yeah. And Mel Brooks, to me, did a phenomenal job in being what he finds humor. One of the best parts of this movie to me is Spaceballs, the toys, the lunchbox. You got to have the merchandising. Like
the flamethrower. The kids will love that one.
The kids, right? When I knew nothing about breaking the fourth wall, Mel Brooks told me what the fourth wall was, right? And that's opening up the audience to what's actually going on in the movie without you knowing what's going on in the movie. So early on, that's my first impression of Spaceballs. It's just a timeless classic. But the question at the end of the show is, will we give it a thumbs up or will we give it a thumbs down? Because just because it's funny doesn't make it a good movie, executive consultant.
Yeah, but the next doctor already said what his thing is going to be because. But here's the thing: if I was watching this movie in 2023, would have stand up. One thing that the Mark Victor Rodriguez, I wish he was here, used to always say, besides something being a money grab, is I wonder if this movie will withstand the test of time. And what I mean by that, now, that's what he would say. In 2023, if I would have watched this movie for the first time, will this withstand the test of time? Actually, hold up, I effed up. I'm sorry. I'm about to go, and if I'm going, I need to do it right.
The end of beginning, the numeral uno, the chances of winning. I do it again. Follow no other, I'm setting these trends, consulting.
I need to reevaluate my contract and get me one of those.
Right.
So,
like, how he get an intro every time he talks? Like, what the fuck?
So, that being said,
And that's my line.
it is. That being said, when I'm looking at it, I look at the first scene. The first scene is the ship. And it's replaced. I'm like, oh, yeah, it will withstand the test of time 2023. Because that's how some of these intros feel in movies. It was quite entertaining. I like the Piece of the Hut thing. Now, looking back at it now, and I seen the guy in the mask doing Piece of the Hut, I can clearly see it. I'm like, oh, it's not as good as I thought it looked. But still, very entertaining, very enjoyable. I was not as big a fan as Yogurt. I know that was Mel Brooks, but I was not as big a fan of Yogurt. I felt the storyline could have been a little bit more interesting, but it was a comedy. It was a spoof. It wasn't supposed to be serious. So I can definitely take that with a grain of salt. Bill Pullman is one of the most underrated actors in movie history. This man can do comedy, spoof comedy very, very well, and serious Independence Day very, very well.
I'm sorry. The Godfather.
That being said,
he played the Godfather. I'm talking about old school. Okay.
I got you. I'm just saying he does movies very, very well, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. If you give Nicolas Cage credit, and he's a horrible actor, you can give Bill Pullman credit. Now, the star of this movie was not the princess by far. I thought she was the weakest point.
What? First of all, I'm sorry. Daphne Zugna, for all my One Tree Hill fans out there, it's Brooke Davis's mother, stole this movie. Because as a horny 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid, I saw the princess on TV and I wanted to give her my Swartz. That's all I'm saying. Who didn't want to give the princess the Swartz?
So Chris did. And the reason is she's not all that. And she took away from the movie a lot with me. I mean, she did. Right?
You didn't like Melrose Place?
No. Her Joan Rivers counterpart, Aid or something, was comedy to me. Mog, or what the hell his name is, was funny to me.
John Candy. It's John Candy.
Yeah, I know John Candy, but I can't
Barf.
remember. Barf, thank you. And the guy, Lone Star, was comedy to me. But the person who stole the movie to me was Dark Helmet.
Of course, Rick Moranis.
Yeah, Rick Moranis. Now, every scene he was in was just comedy to me. Yeah, him, the way he uses his helmet, even when they were down combing the desert. Right?
We're combing the beach, sir.
It was just funny to me. He played the character very well. I think somebody said that. See, my Swartz is bigger than yours. Yours is bigger than mine. Whatever like that. He was just great. He was gold. He's like, I always have coffee on my radar. Ain't that right? And I mean, it's just really, really entertaining. I felt like he should be the big villain, not the secondary villain, because Mel Brooks was the villain, but he still stole the show. He still did. Mel Brooks was the villain. Yes, he was the president.
He was the president of
Spaceballs.
Right. I'm sorry, because he also played Yogurt. And that's all.
He
also played Yogurt. I didn't like him as Yogurt, but I liked him as the president.
Okay.
But he didn't need to be there. You know, it should have been Dark Helmet, but it was still very entertaining. Them turning into the Statue of Liberty with the vacuum cleaner was entertaining to me. Just sucking all the air. And the way they got away and they escaped when Mega Maid or Spaceball 1 was exploding, I thought was very entertaining. It was just overly a very, very funny movie, although it was also a very, very stupid movie. And what do I mean about it being a stupid movie? We're going to talk about why I think it's a stupid movie when we come back from these commercial breaks, as well as this final thought. What is it, Mr. Knox?
I'm sorry, I farted. That's all. It kind of
Yeah, I understand why you made that face. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll get our final thoughts as well as thumbs up, thumbs down. Stay with us. You're watching Unpopular Review.
I don't know. That doesn't seem so tough. I was expecting mustache, maybe evil goatee or something.
How you doing up there, Donnie? Yeah.
Previously on the Mike Knox Show.
The best show in wrestling every week. And why is that? Because your tribal chief is on that show, SmackDown. And the Usos do what the Usos have been doing lately. As we discussed last week, is this the end of the bloodline? At WrestleMania 4, King of the Ring winner in 87, which gave us the Macho King, Hall of Famer in 2015, Wrestler of the Year in 88, Match of the Year, which y'all know I often talk about. Most wrestling fans often talk about him and Ricky Steamboat. WrestleMania 3 to me still one of the top 10 matches of all time. Thank you guys for like, follow, and subscribe. Make sure you guys do all those good, fun things that you do that I like you to do, because without you, none of this would be possible. We wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. Man, tonight, 8:30, live, Savio Vega will be here with us. A special interview right here, because only Mike Knox can pull it off. The show that pros listen to.
It's because the cream rises to the top.
My show man, Randy Savage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Unpopular Review. I'm the exec consultant, joined by the next doctor, Mike Knox. We're talking Spaceballs. Next week, we're not exactly sure. Oh, next week, the movie we're going to be talking about is none other than Date Movie, which is another spoof movie. Looking forward to that one. And, of course, next Tuesday, we're going to end our Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. Also, make sure Wednesday you should join for Gotham Knights, as well as UPR battles on our Instagram station. And coming up this Sunday is going to be Spider-Man Across the Uverse movie review. A lot going on here at Unpopular Review Entertainment. Mr. Knox is upset because he didn't get to see it, but I'm sure he'll see it soon. Meantime,
see it. Just, I can't read a twos and a thirds. That's
next doctor.
That's
Back
me.
on you.
Listen, this movie. Now you mentioned, would it be good if it came out today? And as I was watching the movie, because I'm older, I can still laugh at it. But I noticed that some of the jokes were dated. There were some things that newer audience probably wouldn't even understand. Take the Doublemint twins. They came out, I knew who they were immediately because I had seen the commercials. But there was a small part, and he's like, chew your gum. No one would even understand what that means. So, give them only one man would dare give me the raspberry. People probably don't even know what giving someone the raspberry means. But I still found it hilarious. Michael Winslow, the human soundboard. People probably wouldn't respect the fact that he was in this doing what he was doing.
For the longest time, I didn't know that was him. I did not know it was him. So
I'm sorry, you said through 9 or 7
No. What I'm saying
police
is,
academies.
I saw Spaceballs way before I saw Police Academy because I just watched it last year when we were doing the reviews, right? But I never knew Michael, he was in this movie. Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay, all right, cool.
They just started speaking out of nowhere, yo. I got scared, okay?
But I say all that to say that I was still thoroughly enjoyed this movie. but I don't know if it came out today exactly like it is, would it really hit? Because some of the jokes are dated. But what I do feel is that it could be easily adapted and updated for today's market, and then it would hit. I do agree. Dark Helmet definitely stole the show. From when he first came out, how can I breathe in this thing? I mean, the parody just started right off the bat. It was incredible. Rick Moranis is definitely comedy genius. So, if we're going to go right into final thoughts, I'm going to say that my final thoughts is this is still a thumbs up. Yes, it might need some explaining to a newer audience, but I think overall you can still find enjoyment in this if you happen to catch it on VHS.
Who the fuck got a goddamn VCR?
Hey, listen, they had one in the movie.
A VCR.
Instant VHS.
What if I got a Betamax? What the fuck I supposed to do?
Well, you've been left the party then.
Listen, this movie today, and we watched that, and I'm like, you brought that up as a consultant. It's like, we watched some other movies and we compared like we do right now. Can it last today? I enjoyed this one still more than I'd say just we brought it up, Police Academy. I do think it's dated because special effects. I bring it up all the time that I love Superman 1. I tried to get my kids to watch it. It's an all-time classic to me, Christopher Reeves. They can't watch it, and it's not because necessarily the dialogue. It's because the special effects and things, the way they progress and move. Back then, we accepted it, what we don't accept today. I always say this is a show for the intelligent fan. I mean that when it comes to entertainment, wrestling, movies, whatever. We're more adapt today to understand how things are. We're a smarter community than we are now. But I do think exactly what you said, Next Doctor. They would change it a little bit because it has to change the jokes that wouldn't hit today of Doublemint twins and things like that. But I think the movie is still fun because parodies still exist today. I always tell people, if you've never seen if you've never seen Twilight, then you could never accept how funny Vampire Suck, the parody movie is. But if you've seen, I just said it a second ago. If you've seen Twilight, you can watch Vampire Suck and go, that chick who's in that movie played that shit exactly like Bella plays, and it's hilarious. And to me, that's Spaceballs. If you've seen Star Wars, you've seen Star Trek, you can watch this movie and just completely laugh at the parody of it. And Rick Moranis does steal the movie. Barf is in here, John. First of all, the cast in itself, as we mentioned earlier, it's just phenomenal. You got Mel Brooks, you got Bill Pullman, you got Daphne, Bill Pullman, John Candy, Tim Russ, John Hunt's in this freaking movie. George Weiner, which is the Colonel in this movie. Joan Rivers, who does not do films, did this movie.
No, she did.
And she's playing the
No, she don't.
Huh?
No, she don't.
What you mean? No, she not what?
Check the actress. That wasn't Joan Rivers.
I'm looking at it right now. She plays Dot.
The voice of Dot was Joan Rivers.
It was Joan Rivers. That's all that matters.
It was actually on screen with someone else.
That doesn't matter. Who did you hear?
You heard Joan Rivers.
That's all I know.
Awesome,
I'm a kid. As a kid, I'm listening to Joan Rivers, who doesn't do anything but old ass commercials and Depends, do a freaking comedy. Okay, I'm not watching the Golden Girls with my mama and them. This ain't 227. I'm hearing Joan Rivers and what looks to be a Joan Rivers wig on CP3O. Okay, I loved it. Guess what? 10 years ago, I gave it a thumbs up. 20 years ago, I gave it a thumbs up. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up right now. This movie still lasts the test of time, and I think that with certain movies, you have to be a certain age to understand how it can grow. My kids won't watch this movie and think it's funny because they can't relate. But I can relate. I'm old enough. I'm mature. And guess it. Don't get mad at me because you motherfuckers is like 26 years old. Okay? You hope to get to my age. You wish you wake up everyone and say, God, can I please be 48 years old? I am. This movie's good. Thumbs up. Second consultant.
So
now ask me a question. I might take the whole floor again.
This movie, we don't want that. So this movie, I asked the question, would it withstand the test of time today? And my answer is no. I think this movie will get a thumbs down from the average fan today because they don't understand it. They don't understand good quality. It has to be bang, bang, shoot them up as Mr. Les would say.
Are you saying fans are stupid? As I just said, fans are
I'm
intelligent.
saying that nowadays they have a different direction they go into when it comes to movies. And I brought an example in case you don't believe me.
Okay, got it clear.
Right? There's a reason why I feel like this day and age, this movie will not do well. Because this is what they compare it to.
Oh, stop.
Oh, here we go.
I knew he was doing that dumb.
Here we go.
But if you ask me,
I should have saw
if you ask me, do you enjoy it over that movie? The answer is going to be a thumbs up. It is a thumbs up for me because any movie better than this movie gets a thumbs up from me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.
The hate is so real.
What?
The hate
It
is
really
so real.
What?
Was it the best Batman film ever made? Absolutely not.
It was the worst.
No.
was
A movie you think you like a lot, which had Jim Carrey playing the Riddler, was the worst Batman movie of all time.
Movie. That was a great movie.
And guess
I
what?
still can enjoy that movie.
You are by yourself in that demographic of that being a great movie.
Which is
okay.
Why
I wouldn't call the Jim Carrey one a great movie, but I would call it a good one. I wouldn't call it the worst. The worst one is the Mr. Freeze one. That is the worst.
Batman and Robin.
Ain't it the same one?
No.
Oh, Batman and Robin was the worst. That was the
Batman was worse than Batman and Robin.
No.
I will. If you give me both movies, and so you have to watch one in order to
we're gonna have to do a special just to go over this.
No, he made a good point. I had to give him this. As much as I think he's out of touch, he said, if this movie was not called The Batman, was called True Detective, it would have been a good movie. It should have been called Batman. But that just means his little brain can't understand why that makes it the Batman. Batman he is a detective.
On this panel.
He is a detective.
That's fine. Okay.
Is Batman not a detective? He's Batman year one. Exactly. In discussion. There it is. Close us out here, buddy.
It
Close
sucks.
us out.
It sucks. Thumbs up goes to Spaceballs from all three of us. Can't wait to find out we're going to give Spider-Man as well as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows next Tuesday. Thanks so much for watching us. For Mike Knox, for Next Doctor, I am the executive consultant. Hey, shout out to this guy right here. It's his first night ever hosting. He did a phenomenal job. He's closing this out right now. We'll see you next time right here on Unpopular Review. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
But he closed us out, though. I'm confused.